I am suffering from a character crisis in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Ever since Smash came out, I have mainly only played one character, but with how large Smash's cast is, could I be missing out on someone? I want to give every character a chance at becoming my main. This week, I'm getting my claws dirty with Incineroar, a character who hits so hard you'd think he smuggled Z-crystals into Smash. This will be a series on my blog and this YouTube channel, so like the video and subscribe if you'd like to join me as I go through my character crisis. What starts off as little more than a kitten eventually grows up to be the WWE superstar we all know and love. Before Smash Ultimate came out, Rowlet was my favorite of the three Alolan starters, but after seeing Incineroar strike a pose every time he hit you, I couldn't help but root for him. Incineroar has been a fascinating character to watch throughout the competitive Smash scene. He has many qualities that you would look for in a top tier. Excellent frame data, absurd kill power, the best command grab in the game, and a counter that gives you the opportunity to deal up to 70% in only one hit. But all of this comes with the catch that Incineroar is the literal slowest character in the game. In a genre where speed is king, many players wrote off Incineroar as a low tier. For years, Incineroar was regarded as one of the worst characters in the game. He received a lot of love throughout all of Smash Ultimate's patches, improving his recovery and kill power, but the community still regarded him as a low tier. Earlier this year, Barnard's Loop published the first official Smash Ultimate tier list, which had Incineroar ranked as the 19th worst character in the game. Less than 2 weeks after that tier list was posted, SkyJ would make a monumental run at Collision 2023 and placed second out of 1,149 competitors. Proving it wasn't a fluke, he then followed it up by placing 5th at the last Smash Ultimate Summit to ever happen. As surprised as many people were to see Incineroar do so well, I doubt my region was as shocked as everyone else was. We've been saying for years that if you gave Incineroar's moveset to any other character in the game, they'd become a better character. I created my own tier list just a couple of weeks before the official one released, and I placed Incineroar at the bottom of high tier. I had faith that Incineroar's weaknesses could be compensated for by his extreme strengths, and all it took was SkyJ double eliminating Spargo to prove it. Does this mean Incineroar is actually a good character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? It's time for me to find out for myself. Training to become an Incineroar main was very different compared to what I needed to do for Steve and Kazuya. Incineroar doesn't have crazy long combos or any character-specific techniques. The only things I really needed to practice was follow-ups for landing down tilt at ledge and mastering my Alolan whip timings. If I wanted to get good at Incineroar, I had to learn how to hit my opponent. For many characters, this is a simple question to answer. Just run at them and mash some buttons. When Incineroar tries to do this, your opponent can simply move out of the way. Being the slowest character in the game without a projectile can be incredibly frustrating, when Zero Suit Samus is just flip jumping from one side of the stage to the other. However, what Incineroar lacks in speed, he more than makes up for with raw power. The key to playing Incineroar is to know that you're playing one of the most intimidating characters in the game. Players, especially in a tournament setting, should be terrified of getting hit by Incineroar. If they don't respect you, you'll easily destroy them in close quarters thanks to having some of the best moves in the game. So when an opponent purposely stays out of range of Incineroar, this gives you an opportunity. Stage control is a concept, which implies that when you control center stage, you have more options than your opponent, which therefore gives you the advantage. If all your opponent wants to do is run away from you, swagger on forward and take the stage for yourself. Do this little by little until your opponent puts themselves in the corner for you. It's more than just stage control though. In many situations involving Incineroar, interacting with him imposes some kind of risk. If you misspace a move on his shield, you can get demolished from his fast out-of-shield options. Run in and shield a little too close, and the burst range of a Alolan whip will give you whiplash. Try to jump over him, and you'll get juggled for ages by his up air. As the Incineroar player, your job is to try and identify what your opponent fears most. Once you learn that, cover the space that they're trying to escape to. After you punish their escape options enough, eventually they'll try not to get hit by that, which gives you the chance to hit them with what they were afraid of in the first place. I hope my Incineroar was able to put fear in the hearts of my opponents this week. I was excited to play Incineroar at my local. He's a very fun character to play as, and I felt like my Incineroar was competent enough to get the job done. Incineroar is in many ways an excellent tournament character. As the one playing Incineroar, I feel like the underdog, which is great for my mentality. My opponents are afraid of me, because if they make one mistake, I can destroy their stock. Add on to this the pressure of a tournament setting, it's clear to see how Incineroar can take advantage of his powerful strengths. Round 1. Elay. Pairing the slowest character in the game against the fastest for my round 1 is a funny coincidence. Elay and I go back and forth in sets, and it took me some time to learn the Sonic matchup as Daisy. As Incineroar, it quickly became apparent that I would struggle to get my hands on him. There are moments when I would stack up Revenge, and then not be able to touch him for the next 30 seconds. I lost game 1, and in game 2 I actually SD'd twice in a row. It was the first match of the day, and I was playing Rusty. Despite that, I still managed to bring it to last hit last stock, and if we hadn't traded hits at the end, I would have won the game right there. Surprisingly, even though that matchup is supposed to be awful, it felt doable, and I imagine that if I were to get the run back as Incineroar, I could figure out a way to beat him. Round 2. Stocky. Stocky is a Lucas main, who I have never played against. Lucas is pretty uncommon to see, but so is Incineroar, to be fair. I open up game 1 playing hot, and take his stock with only 1% off mine. I win game 1, and in game 2 I barely miss the ledge trying to recover too quickly. I fall behind pretty significantly, but a Revenge into a Lowland Whip swings the momentum back in my favor. I'm playing from behind, but I guessed correctly several times in a row, and I'm able to take the set with a clean 2-0. Incineroar with momentum is one of the scariest things to deal with, because all it takes is one mistake. Round 3. Focus. Up next, I get to fight a Roy player. Finally, a matchup where I don't have to do all the approaching. Revenge is my greatest tool in this matchup, stopping any mashing and letting me deal massive damage. I take game 1, and in game 2 I steal his first stock in less than 20 seconds. Nair then becomes Focus's downfall, as I use it to edgeguard his next 2 stocks, taking another set as Incineroar. Round 4. Xenix. Xenix is a strong Zelda player, who usually attends different locals than me. However, we got paired up against each other, and it became a battle of the low tiers. Zelda proved to be really difficult for me to fight, because Xenix did an excellent job of changing the timings on his Phantom. Game 1, I got bodied while I was trying to figure out the matchup. I take him to Smashville, where there is less room for him to make Phantoms. It's a lot closer, and on his final stock, I read his jump getup and steal his stock at 73%, taking the game. Game 3 is going even, until I mistime a Revenge, which leads to a brutal sequence from Xenix that ends with me not being able to make it back to the ledge. Phantom was really difficult for me to deal with because I couldn't maneuver around it, and if I guessed wrong with the Revenge, I got punished.
Final results.
Incineroar is some of the most fun I've had since I've started this series. No other character in the game plays quite like him thanks to him being the only true grappler in Ultimate. In many ways, playing as Incineroar feels like I'm trying to solve the puzzle that is my opponent. Because of his weight, it's usually okay to make mistakes going for reads, and when you guess correctly, your reward is watching your opponent explode. It can definitely be difficult to play Incineroar though. Spending a minute or more chasing an opponent who does not want to interact with you sucks. If you autopilot in disadvantage, you can eat so much damage that even a full power Revenge won't bring it back to even. But as long as you keep your cool, remember that they are more afraid of you than you are of them, every game becomes doable as Incineroar. After my experience playing as Incineroar, I feel confident with where I put him on my tier list. In many ways, he is a very powerful character, with only one major flaw holding him back. However, in many matchups, being slow is not a huge deal, as every character will eventually put themselves in range of your claws. Once you get your hands on them, you may as well kiss their stock goodbye. As fun as he was, it's time for a new character. Sorry, I meant characters. See you on Tuesday.